This video is brought to you by 3, bringing you 4G at no extra cost.
Welcome to BTech, it's Basil here comparing the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact with the Samsung Galaxy Alpha. The Samsung Galaxy Alpha is a new approach to devices from Samsung. A metal frame adds a real nice premium factor. What you can expect is a better in-hand sensation than the flagship Samsung Galaxy S5, despite the fact this isn't a flagship. The Sony Xperia Z3 Compact actually drops the metal frame that we came to love from the Xperia Z1 Compact. This isn't a bad thing though. The rubberized sides are much more forgiving. It still feels very premium and solid with Sony's omnibalance design, and it looks like an Xperia through and through, but a better one than its predecessor. How do they compare against each other? We'll start off by looking at the front of both devices, and you've got screens. IPS display versus an AMOLED display. Hardware button at the base of the Galaxy Alpha, that's a home button, as well as 2 capacitive buttons either side, multitasking and back. Front-facing camera. Stereo speakers on the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact. Pulling in closer, you can see one up top and one at the base. Incredible to see on a small device. You've also got on the right hand side, power button, volume rocker, and a 2-stage camera button that is actually very easy to press. We really didn't like how difficult the prior camera button was on the Z1 Compact, so well done Sony for listening to all the reviewers out there, not just us. One side of the microphones, you've got stereo mics on here, by the way. You've also got a lanyard connector. Left hand side, you've got one flap underneath which sits a nano SIM card slot, which you can close up to ensure waterproofing on this thing, magnetic charging connector, and another flap where you'll find the micro SD card slot, and of course that USB connector. Exposed up top is the 3.5mm headphone jack, and like we said, that microphone for stereo audio recording, and you've got a camera up at the top, NFC contact point as well. What you also have on the Xperia Z3 Compact is a range of very attractive colors. We've got the black one. This is the most demure version out there. We much prefer actually the mandarin and lime green version, and it also is available in white too. Putting that to one side, and the Samsung Galaxy Alpha will not be outshone. Sure, it doesn't have waterproofing, but this would look very natural being pulled out of a suit, for example. We have an iPhone just to bring in for reference, and you can see while the chamfered edges are reminiscent, the contouring is pretty unique up top and bottom. It just looks like a very nice device, and it doesn't actually look crazily iPhone-esque. There are smaller bezels at the top. It just looks like a Samsung, really. Looks almost like a Samsung Galaxy S2 that's given an expensive lick of paint. On the right hand side, power button. You've got micro USB connector at the base and a speaker, single speaker, not stereo speaker, very easy to cover up, unfortunately. On the left hand side, volume rocker up at the top, 3.5mm headphone jack. Flipping it round, camera button, 12 megapixel camera. You've also got a flash and a heart rate sensor. You can prise open that back cover, and it is a very thin, flimsy, bendy back cover, but it doesn't feel like it's going to snap anytime soon. 1860 milliamp removable battery and a nano SIM card slot. There is no micro SD expandability on this thing, and that is because you have 32 gigabytes of onboard memory as opposed to 16, which is the standard in most Samsung devices. So putting them side by side, therefore it's easy to see why we'd say the Samsung Galaxy Alpha looks like something you'd pull out of a suit. We're not massive fans of the color choices of it, so black or white are really our favorites. The Sony Xperia Z3 Compact is a little bit more versatile, may not look quite as premium in black given it doesn't have that metal edging, but it is super fun in mandarin and green. Those screens, they're very different. AMOLED versus IPS, both 720p resolution though, so while they'll have similar pixel densities, you'll probably get a better reading experience on the IPS panel. That's because IPS panels tend to be sharper. They also tend to have better white balance. You can jump into the display settings as well, and thanks to Sony's allowances to let the consumer tweak the white balance, you can make it look exactly as white as you want it to. The Samsung Galaxy Alpha won't afford you those luxuries, but it will give you punchy colors being a Super AMOLED display, and of course incredibly deep blacks as well. As far as what's inside those screens go, Android on both, and they're very different user experiences. You've got TouchWiz on the Samsung Galaxy Alpha, and if we pinch out, we can get an overview of home screens. By default, something called My Magazine is switched on, and this is a aggregator on the left-hand side of news and social media content, and it's very laggy and we really don't like it. So thank you, Samsung, for letting us switch it off. But if you do like it or do want to switch it off, you can access that as well as your widgets and your wallpapers by pinching on the screen or long pressing on the screen. Applications tray is traditional, no real options there explicitly, but you can do things like organize apps into folders, etc. Swipe down from the top with one finger and you've got some quick toggles which you can scroll through. S-Finder, quick connect and brightness control. You can also swipe down with two fingers to reveal all your quick toggles. So that is pretty much Android and TouchWiz through and through. There are applications on here to take advantage of the hardware highlights like that heart rate sensor. As far as the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact goes, again, very little change from its predecessor, the Z1 Compact, in terms of the user interface. So it does have bigger icons. The bigger icons afford you a more enjoyable user experience when you browse through the whole device. It looks a lot more like Google Now Launcher. If we pull down one finger, we can see we have notifications we can swipe out of the way. Two fingers, you've got your quick toggles, and you can actually edit your quick toggles on both of the devices. This is a new system of editing quick toggles where you simply drag a new quick toggle up to the top and boom, you're done. If we jump out of that, we can see our applications tray. The applications tray on Sony devices are really nice because you've got this menu to the left-hand side, which allows you to better organize your applications. And you've got two stores. You've got the Google Play Store and the Sony Select Store. As you do on the Samsung Galaxy Alpha, you've got the Google Play Store and the Samsung App Store. And so all in all, different user experiences, but they are very similar at the same time because you have home screens, pull down bars, and of course, widgets. If you want to change your theme, you can also do that very easily on the Sony Xperia range, which changes the whole color concept for everything. And you can also download more themes. As far as the cameras go, they pack different resolutions, 20.7 megapixels versus 12 megapixels. What you can also expect is very similar performance on the Z3 Compact to the Z1, Z2, Z3, and of course Z1 Compact. The reason for this is it is the same sensor at the heart of it all, and that's not a bad thing because it was one of the best performing sensors that we've used to date. Having said that, we are super impressed that Samsung has been able to pull out a 12 megapixel sensor that we haven't seen before that can still grab shots like this and like this, for example. If we were to open up our gallery, we can see those same shots on the Xperia and they look very good. However, the Xperia Z3 Compact isn't quite able to handle nice bright elements as well. You can see it's blown out the background a fair bit more. If we jump through, we can also see detail on both is very good and very comparable at that. The Z3 Compact, being higher resolution, is a little bit sharper, but the color accuracy and the range across the Samsung Galaxy Alpha is higher contrast, and it's a little bit, well, it looks like it's a little bit more processed, which may actually be a good thing because anyone who wants a phone to take a picture that looks like it's ready for social media, nice, punchy, vibrant, may benefit from that. Having said that, these are our first impressions. We haven't put it through its paces. What we have put through the paces are the video recorders on both of them though. Both can record at 4K, and we've done a side-by-side 4K video comparison, so check that out on YouTube. Watch both. We literally put both side by side so that you can reach your own conclusion, and we even cut the audio so that you can see which audio you prefer from the Galaxy Alpha or Xperia Z3 Compact. Moving back to our comparison, and let's talk about the rest of the multimedia functions on here. You've got obviously PS4 remote play on this thing, which is one of the best things that we have ever seen on any device to date. Anyone who has a PlayStation 4, you have got to check this out. You stick it on the end of your controller and you play using this as your primary screen. You don't even need your TV on. You can even do it away from the premises with which the Wi-Fi network your PlayStation is connected to is hooked up to, and that's because this thing connects to that server over either 4G, 3G or Wi-Fi. We still haven't used it outside of ether. At ether it worked really well. There was minimal latency. It's the type of software interface that is experienced on the PS Vita, so we can't wait for that to land later this year. Although we have to say, if we were going to do that, we'd probably prefer the Z3 because it's got a bigger screen. Other multimedia highlights include micro SD expandability, so you can throw all your own stuff on here, movies or music, and of course access to the Sony Music and Video Unlimited stores on top of Google Play Store, etc. Samsung Galaxy Alpha. This really is the one you're going to go for if you want a game. Why? Not because of the processor being better or anything, but because of that 32 gig of internal memory. That means you're going to be able to get more games onto here, because a lot of games need to be installed on internal memory and don't actually support installation on micro SD cards. That said, it isn't expandable, so bear in mind if you like chucking a load of movies or music onto an SD card and just sticking it into here, then you are going to be out of luck, I'm afraid. All in all, both of these devices perform well in terms of user interface. We didn't have any lag until we went in that horrible My Magazine UX that we can very, very easily switch off. Has to be said, Samsung's TouchWiz is more buggy. For example, the gallery automatically syncs up all your Dropbox photos, which means it pulls every photo in your Dropbox folder to your device and therefore bloats it like crazy. We had to turn this off. Before we did, it took up to 5 seconds to open up our gallery. It's these little things that really let Samsung devices down. So much potential. But as soon as we did switch that off, it absolutely flew. Jumping into Antutu, and we can see how the two devices benchmark, and it's a pretty clear win. The Samsung Galaxy Alpha just can't stack up with its octa-core processor to the Sony Xperia Z3 compact Qualcomm Snapdragon 801. Both have 2 gig of RAM, but if we jump into the details, you can see exactly what it is that the Sony wins out at, and it's pretty much everything really. Across the board. So yeah, the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact is the powerhouse of the two, despite the fact it packs that smaller form factor body. Having said that, if you don't need a powerhouse, anyone who knows Antutu knows that that is incredibly respectable, and we can see exactly how it performs that to other devices out there, and it performs as well as better than the Nexus 4, for example, and almost as well as the Xperia Z2. Well, almost as well. And everyone also knows benchmarks on everything, and we've yet to see stutter using the Galaxy Alpha. As far as other elements go, the real one we've got to cover is connectivity. You've got Cat6 LTE on the Samsung Galaxy Alpha. Otherwise, they are very, very similar, save for that heart rate monitor. For anyone who doesn't know, Cat6 LTE means speeds of 300 meg per second download over 4G data, and you can only really access that in the UK if you live in London and are on EE. For everyone else, you will probably like the Cat 4 LTE on here. That's Cat 450 meg as opposed to 300, but it is going to be available probably a lot sooner and across more networks than Cat 6. As for everything else, battery life, well, they're both pretty comparable. You're going to get at least a day out of them. The Samsung Galaxy Alpha hasn't blown us away, but it hasn't really disappointed us either. And we haven't had the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact long enough to test that one out. If you do have any specific questions about either, make sure you fire them in the comments section below. These are two of our favorite devices out right now. We'll be using them for the foreseeable. So make sure you stay tuned to BTech if you want to see a lot more coverage on both of them. And if you have any ideas for future videos, make sure you drop them in the comments section too. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, click like, and if you like BTech in general, make sure that you subscribe.